So today we are going to hear from a few of our member leaders about their personal experiences when they first became new presidents. Deborah Kidney is our presenter for today. My name is Shondell Day, and I'm with the Education Department at AFSCME International, and I will be serving as your host for today's session. Before we begin, I would like to go over a few housekeeping notes. We encourage you to use your telephone in order to participate in the Q&A at the end of the session. Please select Use Telephone after joining the webinar and call in using the numbers provided once you sign on. Be sure to use the audio pin shown after joining the webinar. All the participant lines will be muted throughout the presentation. Lines will be opened up for a quick Q&A at the end of today's session. If you have any questions along the way, please enter them using the chat feature or type them into the question queue, and we will try to get to those answers right away. There will be an exit survey at the end of this webinar. In order to receive your certificate of participation, please complete this exit survey. We would greatly appreciate your feedback. You will be sent the certificate by the end of the week. Thank you all. And I'm now going to turn the session over to Deborah Kidney.
Hello, and welcome all of you to our conversation for new union presidents about being a union president. As Shondell said, my name is Deborah Kidney, and I work for AFSCME in the Education Department. So our goals for today, for this program, are to provide you with the information, tools, and resources that you need in order to be a successful new president. So first we want you to understand the first things you're going to do, your tasks and steps after you take office. Next, we want you to get a clear picture of your role. And third, we want you to know where you can get support through your own networks and through the resources that AFSCME provides you. Today, you're going to hear from 3 local union presidents who are going to talk about the challenges they faced as new presidents and how they successfully met those challenges. So let me present our panel and have each introduce themselves. So first we have Jillian Inglis.
Hi, I'm Jillian, and I'm the president of Anchorage Municipal Employees Association, AFSCME Local 16, up in Anchorage, Alaska. I also work as a planner for the municipality of Anchorage.
How many members are in your local, Jillian?
We have 525 to 550 members.
And how long have you been president?
I've been president since January of this year.
Excellent.
Previously, I've had about 12 to 15 years of experience, starting out as a shop steward and moving on to the board, and I spent many years as the vice president.
Great, thank you very much. Next I want to introduce, or have Melvin Hughes introduce himself.
All right, hello. I'm Melvin Hughes. I'm president of HOPE Local 123, rather known as the Houston Organization of Public Employees in Houston, Texas. And my job is I work for the City of Houston in water production. I'm a maintenance mechanic 3, and we have approximately around 3,700 members. And I've been the president of HOPE Local for going on 7 years. And other roles that I've played in the union, leaders, activists, of course a board member, but mainly an activist to build the union, make a better union here in Houston, Texas.
Great, thank you, Melvin. And third, we have President Chris Murphy.
Hi, my name is Chris Murphy. I'm the president of AFSCME Local 2327. I've been serving for 2.5 years as president, and I work at the Clarksville State Hospital as a boiler plant operator 2 since 1987, and we represent approximately 245 members. We are located in the northeastern Pennsylvania sector, and our District Council 87 represents 9 counties, and our Council 13 chapter is in Harrisburg. As an officer in treasurer training for the local union training instructor for training purposes for stewards and officers, I also serve on the District Council 87 Executive Board. And I actually got involved in the early years as a steward, and then later on through the years I served as executive board member and then a chief steward before moving up to president in January 1st of 2013.
Excellent, great. So I appreciate all of you participating in this discussion today, and I'm going to ask each of you a question and possibly a follow-up question. And of course, if the other presidents want to jump in and add in their thoughts, you're welcome. So I'm going to start with Jillian. So Jillian, I'm wondering what the very first things you did, the first task you did when you were elected president.
Well, I made sure that the employer or the employers were aware of who the new president of the association was by contacting them and requesting to meet with them so I could get to know them better, and so they could identify with me. You also should go out and change the signatures on the bank accounts to make sure they're accurate and take the old people off and put the new people on. The books should be audited, so all your financials should be audited. You should calendar the important dates, such as your contract negotiations and shop steward meetings and board meetings, to make sure that everybody knows when those dates are. Hold your first executive board meeting with the board, and then also meet with other key activists in your group. For example, meet with all your shop stewards and other activists in your group, your committee leaders and whatnot. For example, I formed multiple committees, and I met with them and started doing the work of that.
Thanks, Jill. Chris, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, before I began, I needed to inquire from my former predecessors before me if there was any unfinished business or agenda concerns that I need to be aware of, such as grievances or possibly labor management agenda areas. I also set up an executive board meeting and swore in my new officers. And then it's important for me and for all the local officers to send out the report of local officers forms. Doing this and going to a website of AFSCME.org and /forms, and you can fax or mail this out to their national. And that's basically started the process of getting the board on in tune for what was upcoming for our negotiation process, which began in the early spring of last year.
Great. And Chris, we're looking at the slide on is a form called Report of Local Officers. Are you familiar with that one?
Sure. Yeah. You basically fill this. You can again, go to AFSCME/forms and click that on the website from AFSCME.org. And you can print that out, and once you print it out, you place the president's name and vice president, executive board, all your line officers, and addresses, phone numbers, departments, and so forth. And I also had faxed our district council as well, and they basically sent that as well to our Chapter 13 union out in Harrisburg. So that everybody is on board with whom's who in our local.
No, perfect. Thank you. Melvin, any other first tasks you want to address?
Yes, I think one of the first things that I can remember clearly is the Constitution and bylaws. That was my bread and butter, that to make sure that I was doing what the local and the Constitution and bylaw required me to do. So we reviewed that over and over and made sure we didn't miss out anything and start preparing for the first board meeting.
Great. Okay, so Melvin, I'm going to put you up first for the next question. So I'm curious what you found most challenging about taking on this role as president, and how you met that challenge.
Well, one of the first things I had to do is set up the signatures at the bank, and it was rough because it started out, it had one signature, and our Constitution and bylaws calls for two, so we had to go to the bank and get that done, and then we had to have signatures and the minutes from the last president and the officers to remove them and put us in place, and we needed minutes from our first board meeting to be able to activate that at the bank. So it was a challenge, but we got it taken care of, the secretary, and we all showed up and got everybody together. It was just trying to put stuff together timely so we all could meet at the same time and get it done, but we was able to get it done, and that was one of the first things with the two signatures, because they were used to just having one, but we prepared and got it to all the officers, and we got that taken care of and prepared for the first meeting, and that was rather daunting because the first meeting you had a lot of officers. You had 4 officers and about 13 board members, so it was new. And Robert rules, I had a little trouble with Robert rules because I wasn't used to them, but I did get the training. I got the training, but my board wasn't familiar with it, so I had to get my board to training. So it was a job, but we got it done the first meeting, and we just make sure now that we always vote on any finances. If we're going to transfer some money, it's always done through the Robert rules. But that was some of the things that was challenging, but how we did it together, because the board expects you as the president, much is expected from the president. So I always made it my business to take time and read it or ask to make sure. If I'm not sure, I would call into a representative that I knew with internationals and just to double check, make sure I was covering my bases, because the board expects me as the president to be able to, to carry the lead. And it was something that I kind of shared with the other officers to help us get through the process till we got used to one another, but it worked out.
Right. Shondell, can you go to the next slide for me? So one of the things that Melvin was talking about was he wanted to make sure that everyone's voice was heard, and you can see on the screen right now, this is a page from our officer's handbook. So as Melvin said very clearly, anytime you have a money decision, you need to use Robert's rules, but there are ways of having conversations as a board, having a discussion, and this is just an example of a collaborative way of making decisions that also incorporates Robert's rules. Great. So Jillian, what else, what worked or didn't work when you first began running union meetings?
Well, the first union meeting, I would always suggest you either install the officers, the new president, at the beginning of the meeting or at the end of the meeting, and not in the middle of the meeting like we did. I was installed in the middle of the meeting. But I found also that running the meeting could be difficult, especially if not everyone knows Robert's Rules of Order. So we set up some guidelines also so that everybody could be heard and using Robert's Rules of Order, and that has been working great for us. We basically, everybody has to have decorum at the meeting. They shouldn't be talking on a turn or interrupting. They should be acknowledged before they speak, and so that has been working well. But the first meeting was very difficult because we did switch in the middle of the meeting.
This would have been a bit of a time. Great. And Chris, anything you want to add to that?
Sure. I agree a lot with Melvin, and Jillian had already mentioned. That's all very important strategies of getting the union started in the right direction. For me, I've seen the need for refresher training for stewards and officers training, and so this entitles everyone to be follow the proper policies and procedures. International Constitution, filing grievances, possibly fact-finding information. The officers' positions and what their obligations are as particular officer delegated and elected. And again, I always entertained the notion of having our members of the new business to open up and have any concerns or problems. And if something seems to get a little bit personal, I'd ask to to see that individual after a meeting, so that that one's not being pointed in the wrong direction. So if somebody's going to take a little bit of time during the meeting and it's going to drop a lot of the time during the course of the meeting, again, I I will address the individual or have some other fellow officer do the same. So that's my experience in that respect.
Perfect. So I'm going to stick with you, Chris. What is something you tell someone considering running for president that you wish you had been told?
Well, one of my best experiences is that when I early started back in '87, I became really involved becoming a steward. My mom and dad were both AFSCME employees, former employees. My dad, prior to being an AFSCME employee, was a Teamster. And, you know, I was always told to start at the bottom of the rung and work my way up. So I became a steward, and I was that for several years. And then, lo and behold, I ended up becoming a chief steward. There was an opening, and you know, they needed somebody to fulfill that position, and I felt that I was prepared for it. And I, you know, was lucky enough to have enough time with AFSCME that they seen what in me that I couldn't see in myself. They sent me to educational formats and conferences and leadership programs, and I moved myself up to an executive board officer, and I was that for several years, and then I became president, so I've been really graciously lucky to be able to be in this position, and so those I was able to use my strengths and so forth to help create, you know, a good, solid foundation for our membership and for our officers and stewards as well.
So, Chris, you also talked to me about the process that your local uses around strategic planning. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Sure. You know, one of our concepts is, you know, we looked at, you know, part of our strategic planning and so forth. We, you know, one of our missions that we found that we needed to do was we have language in a contract that allows us to have union bulletin boards, and I found that we had very few bulletin boards in our workplace, and we cover approximately 14 buildings on our campus and our residents that we take care of, and we, you know, represent trades and nursing, and so we needed to get the memos and some information out, so we had more bulletin boards placed up. One of the other things that we did, we had a great goal set for you know, public relations with our employer, and it was on Arbor Day. We purchased 13 dogwood trees, and we planted them all over the property of our hospital, and it was all volunteer, done by the members and ourselves and our officers. And the 13 trees were planted because of our Council 13 number and Harrisburg. So you know, I think PR is a great you know, something to give back to our community. We do parks and cleanup, and we also do turkey donations for Soup Kitchen during the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays through our Council 87, and that's been really a great effort, and that's in memory of a former director of ours, Frank Schubert, and which helped out at the Soup Kitchen when he retired. So I think that you know, strategic planning is something that's important on the very beginning stages of taking office, and doing it yearly, planning for future events to be held for your membership, and as well as doing public relations events.
Great. What great examples. Melvin, anything you want to add about strategic planning?
I think one of the greatest things was planning. Our members, they want to know, you know, since I was the president, what exactly I want to change, and my question to them, what if they need to change? And so I kind of brought the members in, and we put a vision together because we needed some change in the city of Houston. We needed a way to work with management, so we formed a committee and got the city to agree to come up with a team of management and labor, and we sit at the table with the directors of every large department in the city of Houston, and was able to work out some things with them. We have a team of management, 4 large management side, and we have 4 our officers sit on the opposite side of the table, and we disagreed to agree on some things, or disagreed to walk away and come back, or whatever it takes, but we got it done because we had to strategize, because Houston, Texas wasn't used to having a union telling them that we just wasn't going to do it this way any longer, and we was going to come to work, but we needed to sit down and figure out. So we came up with a strategy, a plan, a mission, and a goal, and we made it together. Where we did it as a team, and as president, I had to bring the board together to see that the management thought that something was wrong with the union, and we want to let them know we wanted to work with them, and we worked it out together. But it took strategizing and planning to do that. And now in the city of Houston, it's known as management and labor team, and we meet as needed to make sure that the union and the city is working always together. And that was something that it took strategy and planning to do on my part as president.
Great, great. Jillian, anything you want to add?
Well, I agree with both Melvin and Chris about the strategic planning. It's very important to have a goal and a vision, and so they are correct. When you come in as president, you should hold strategic planning. I agree that you definitely need to bring the membership in and try to make them a part of everything. Delegation is incredibly important. The president cannot do everything, and so the president should delegate and try to motivate people to come in and do things together. Recently we had a big fight in Anchorage with our mayor concerning the mayor was trying to do union busting activities to take away our collective bargaining rights, and he actually was successful in passing an ordinance. But together with coalition partners, because we have several unions within the municipality, we banded together. So it's very important to get to know your other cohorts in the other unions surrounding you, because in the end we managed to overturn through voter referendum the mayor's change in the ordinance and got back our collective bargaining rights through that process. But it was a very long 2-year process, and it involved many things. It didn't just involve collective bargaining rights. It also became a part of, we had to also fight for public notice, public testimony. They even changed the date of the mayor's election and the assembly or city council's election through this whole process. And so through this, we have managed to reverse actually all of it. And they just changed the election back to April instead of November. And so it's very important that you build these bonds with your collective, with your partners, on both in the unions and in the community, because this was a community effort in Anchorage.
Great, that's great. So, and the strategic planning pyramid that you see there is also part of the officer's handbook. So for those of you who are looking for more skills and ideas around that, you'll find that in the officer's handbook, and I'll give you a resource to download that at the end of our webinar. So I'm now going to throw this question out to my team, my presidential team here. Since becoming a local president, what skills did you bring, or what skills have you developed that have made you better as a president? And let's start with Chris with that question.
Sure, thanks. We had some vacancies that I found after doing and cleaning up some of our paperwork. There were some empty seats and trustees and some other particular areas. And so, we are a 24/7 operations, and issues comes up. And so our very next union meeting that we did have, posting out the important agenda, that there were some seats and vacancies available, and I would ask for those members out there that we can't do this obviously alone. We need help and support. So ask those folks that they could email our recording secretary or myself, and in doing so, we would, if there were more than one individual per particular vacancy, of course we would go truly by the international constitution and have an election. And again, we were able to obtain. The other thing was we were able to obtain an office, a union office at our workplace. We have a great office, and it's very private, and we can access all of our business purposes, for our AFSCME resources for our members, such as, we have steward handbooks, we have orientation packets prepared, ready to go. We have membership cards, PAL information, and cards. So, basically, we had a lot of tools and resources that were in front of us, and we just did some house cleaning and opened up our doors to our officers and stewards to allow them to access the office so that they can have privacy and do what they need to do for the members.
Thank you. Jillian, you touched on this a few minutes ago, but I wanted you to talk just a little bit more about delegation. You know, that's been one of the themes of your first few months.
Yes, delegation was a difficult thing for me because it's just easier sometimes to do it yourself, but then you get too scattered and you can't do anything great. So what I did, because we don't have staff and we're spread out as well, what I did is I created many committees. And for example, an orientation committee that rotates weekly to go to the orientation, to hand out orientation packets and sign people up for the union. I also formed a political action committee. This was the first time we've ever had a political action committee, so we could participate and hold candidate forums and decide if we wanted to endorse a candidate. This is very important. And also various other committees such as a safety committee, a grievance committee. We have a grievance committee that will review all the grievances that are going on, determine if we're going to take it to the next level, and involve and push forward the grievance or not. In addition, we have an ethics committee and a few other committees, a communications committee that will put stuff out on our website. And so we found that this works best for us because we don't have paid staff, and so that has been very helpful. It also empowers members because you ask them to be a part of that committee, and suddenly they feel like they're doing something for the association and being a part of it, and it energizes them, and then I think it has an effect on other members. Since taking office, our membership has also increased at our quarterly meetings. So because we also implemented a Did You Know type series where we took a contract topic and explained it to the members, and so they like to come to that meeting to hear in more detail how that portion of the contract works.
Excellent. Get more people involved. That's always our key. Melvin, so tell me what skills or what have you done that's developed you and your local so that you're a better president?
I think one of the things is that we created stewards in our union, and that's something the city, they did not want to see. They always fought us on having stewards. They totally really didn't need stewards, but the members said that we needed stewards because the president and the officers couldn't be everywhere all the time. So we got together and checked with other locals on what's required of stewards and what we needed stewards for. And we right now we have over 20 stewards in the city of Houston, and that's never been, and we've always had a union, but now we have stewards, and we also created communication. We have our own website, and it's so many members, we needed a better way to communicate to them, so now we have a communication site that gets everybody. If we got something going on, everybody's going to know about it, including the city. If it's something we just want the members to know, we're able to communicate it to the members' cell phones, their private websites or whatever. We can get it to them, and that meant so much to the membership. It gave me strength in the union, and it also gave the members strength because that's something that they wanted, and I delegated people to help me create it and to choose people to make sure that information goes out, because we have a saying that no one likes to read an old newspaper, so we make sure that we keep fresh and new information on that, just not about Hope and Houston, but other locals, what they're doing throughout the country. So we keep fresh information. That really strengthened not only the union, but the entire local and myself as president.
That's great. All right. So one program that I know all three of you have been involved in and is on the top of all of our minds and lists is AFSCME Strong. And I'm going to just do a quick review of the AFSCME Strong program. You can see from the slide that our goal is to have conversations with 80% of our membership across the country. one-on-one, person-to-person. We want to listen to what they care about, educate them on what we've accomplished together. As you've just heard these three amazing presidents talk about the things they have accomplished. We want them to, we want to help them understand that a strong union means strong living standards for the middle class and quality services for our communities. And we want them to stand strong with us to protect everything that we worked so hard to collectively bargain over the last years. The program has a few other sub-goals, and we're going to talk to 80% of our members. We also want to recruit and train 5% of our best union activists, which include all of you on this call and a whole bunch of more people, to be the one-on-one communicators and to reach out to those 80%. We really need to make sure that everyone understands that they need to get active and stand strong with our union to protect the middle class and the services we provide. And finally, a part of our program is also to ask them to join our people program so that we have the political strength to win. So I think that's on the next slide, all those things I just talked about. And I'm going to, while we're looking for that, I want to know from each of you how you've been involved with our AFSCME Strong program. So Jillian, what's your experience so far?
Well, we held the training, I believe in June it was. We had training, and we also went to training with our sister unions, the Public Safety Employees Association and the Alaska State Employees Association. And it was a filled room, and AFSCME came over and trained us on how to have these conversations. And so we learned a lot during that training, but we also used AMEA's work sites to hold the basically on-the-job training, I would call it. And so we set up 5 work sites and invited people to show up during lunch, and we offered some food at each site. And Alaska State Employees Association, along with Anchorage Municipal Employees, went to the job sites and talked to several employees. It was actually quite shocking how many came out at their work sites to talk to us. There was about, I think we ended up at the end of the day with 70 conversations, and that took roughly 2.5 hours of talking at the 5 different sites. And since then, AMEA has also been conducting, we have about 10 people doing this, conducting additional one-on-one conversations as they have time, and we've gotten over 100 conversations now.
Wow.
Which we have already met our August goal, part of our August goal.
That's great. Thinking back about strategic planning, it's a plan that you guys made. That's excellent. Melvin, what's your contact then with AFSCME Strong?
AFSCME Strong, we passed a resolution in support, and we have a training already set up, so it's growing. We're getting ready for one of the first training. I believe it's going to be a large training class.
Great, good. Education department's looking forward to seeing you there. And finally, Chris, where's your local at with AFSCME Strong?
Well, glad you asked. Last week I went to my first AFSCME Strong meeting at our district council, and I've been asked to be a coach, and I'm going to take that on. And also, just like Melvin and Jillian, we are on this this whole program in our state of Pennsylvania of Council 13. We have approximately 52,611 members, and our goal is to engage and access 42,089 members by March of 2016. We're going to engage our members through escalating actions around the workplace, and we're also going to do some talk about some economic issues and have a one-on-one conversations with our coworkers, and thus we will be able to engage them in the union's activities and then commit them into action. What we're also going to do is we're going to go to each local and ask the executive boards to reach out to their membership and to pass resolution on AFSCME Strong and get the ball rolling. So again, we want to engage and access 80%, like Deborah has said, of membership, and increase the panel participation as well as in 10% of the VMP people organization. And we're going to train 5% of the members to carry out the Ask Me Strong program. So we're very excited about the program and initiating this organization of organizing the members. Our staff rep had given a little information about going door to door and talking to a member that was not a member and asked him some questions, and he said, come on to my house. And so he sat down, and he said, they asked why, what was the reason why you haven't joined the union? Is something you want to talk about the issue or anything you want to address? And he said, it's pretty simple. He said, nobody's ever asked me during the orientation. I was never asked during the orientation process to be asked to join the union. So he not only signed a green card and joined the union, but he also joined PAL as an MVP. So there's some great stories, and there's a lot to come out from this, because I think engaging our members is an important process of making our union that much stronger.
Great, good to hear everybody's on board. So I'm now going to show you a few other resources that you can access to get your next steps going. We have online resources, some that are already ready to go. You can take them at any time, anywhere. You can see the Getting Started with Parliamentary Procedures one. There's a Financial Standards Code webinar, like I said, in real time. So if you're up at 2 in the morning or 6 in the morning or whenever you want it, you can take it by signing in at afscme.org/academy. And in addition, we want to encourage everyone. Several of our presidents talked about getting signatures on checks, so we want to make sure that all of you take the opportunity to attend a Secretary Treasurer's workshop. All signatories on checks should attend that, and trustees at least once every 2 years, so you can be right up to date with the financial standards. And finally, I want to reiterate that your education department is here to assist you in training your executive boards. We can do this through and you can get access to having executive board training or lots of other kinds of training through your council or through the AFSCME regional office. So please use our expertise, and we'd love to work with all of you. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to have Shondell open the floor to see if there are any questions. Yes.
Can I say something about the education and department assistants?
We would love you to say something, Jillian.
We're a new local, so this department has been very instrumental in helping us get started down a different path in our local, and so it is a very good resource, and I really suggest that people use the education department's resources and training.
Thank you for that little advertisement. I appreciate that, Jillian. So any questions from out there? Any questions?
If you have any questions, please raise your hands and we will call on you in the order in which we give your responses. I see that we have one hand raised. Tracy Chapman, your mic is unmuted. Tracy, are you able to?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There you are.
I have a question for Jillian. When she held her AFSCME Strong Sites, did she have any negativity? And if she did, how did she handle that?
When we did the work sites?
Yes.
Yes, we did. We did have some negativity, but the best way to deal with it is to remain professional. Everyone has an opinion, and a lot of times people just want to be heard. So you hear them, you listen to what their concerns are, and then I wouldn't try to change their mind. I would just give them answers to their questions and remain professional, because you never know when an interaction that goes bad can turn into a really good interaction. And so it's just best not to get defensive, I would say.
Right. Well, I want to thank all of you for taking on this role. I know we're all learning together, and as my brothers and sisters, I appreciate what you do.
Thanks, Tracy. Any other questions? Raise your hand.
Steve Tremper had a question. His question is, well, first let me introduce him. Steve Tremper, Master Electrician, President Local 1860, Birmingham Public Schools, Birmingham, Michigan. We are in contract negotiations. Any tips or do's and don'ts to share? We are a skilled trades facility operations group. My goal has been to remind bargaining members repeatedly that we provide expert service to the school district staff, students, and the community to keep them safe and the buildings well maintained and efficient.
Great. So I'm going to have you guys, all three of these presidents have bargaining experience, but I'm going to throw this question at Melvin first.
All right, thank you.
Did you
I
catch
think
the
one of the
question,
things
Melvin?
that I would, yes, one of the things I'd like to say is that always remind your members as you negotiate that you are of value to your city and what you do, because they can't make it without you. And always stay encouraged. And if you set a goal, don't come out till you get it. And it's not easy. I just come out of negotiations myself, and we didn't walk out. They walked out, and we got them back to the table. But we stuck to our goals, and we got it. And we're in the middle of ratifying the contract. But I always encourage my members to stay focused and to stay on the goal, because you're of value to whatever organization, city, or company that you work for. They can't make it without you. And just remind your members how valuable they are to them, because sometimes the company or the city won't show you that value. You have to come and let them know what you stand for and how you make the city run.
Great. Thank you, Melvin. Do we have any other questions out there? So if we don't, I want to point out to you, those of you who are online, there is a handout tab on the right side of your screen, and you can see that you can download. We have 3 handouts up there. We have the Officer's Handbook, which we had a couple slides from. We have that form that Chris talked about early in the webinar, the report of local officers. And we also have this PowerPoint is available under that new President's PDF, so you can download what you've seen today.
Okay, Deb, we have another question.
Okay.
Linda Kutzmas, what advice would you have in bringing the membership together?
Okay, so who can give me, let's see, who can give me a good example of something they've done that brought the membership together? Chris, we haven't heard from you for a while. If you have an example, or Jillian?
Sure. That's a good question, and thank you for the question. You know, what we had done in the past to bring solidarity and unity within our membership is everybody likes a clam picnic or Christmas party. You know, one particular example that I have is we had a spring fling. We had such a long winter several years past, and we decided to have some of the other unions get together at our facility, and we established a committee, and we started at the very beginning of January, and we set goals and had strategies, and what we did was we invited everyone to this local VFW and in the large hall, and we all basically chipped in as all the locals, and we threw a spring fling, and this was to be able to unify all of our employees that work at our hospital, because we do employ approximately 420 people at our facility at our hospital. So you know, that was one of the areas that we had resources and pamphlets and so forth. We had music, we had prizes, we had raffles and so forth for PAL. It was just, it really was a great event, and it really brought people engaged and you know, to be solidified as a union, as we are called, we are one. So that's what we had done as a local. That's just one example that I have.
Good. So a social event that engaged people. Anybody, either Jill or Melvin, have an example of bringing the work group together around an issue, maybe?
We did something.
Okay, one second. Let's go ahead, Melvin. Then Jill, you're next.
We did something similar to Chris. We had a membership day. Basically, we invited out all the members from every sector of our union, and we did something like a family and friends, and celebrated. We gave away door prizes, and so the members can meet each other, because we have a saying that we're all in the same boat. No matter what department you're in the same boat. But we had to figure out how to get everybody in the center of the boat so we could all talk and kind of find out what's going on. So we kind of broke bread together and discussed issues, and we got a chance to meet each other, the blue-collar workers and the laborers, and everybody just came together, and it kind of brought us together. It helps the members to come together and see that, we're all in this thing together, and we're fighting for the same thing, better health care, better pay, and stability in the workplace. So we just had to figure out a way, and sometimes just bring a little food and a little prizes to bring us together, and it works.
That's great. Sharing food, always a good way. And Jill?
I would also, consider some type of charity type event. Maybe get somebody out. I know when I went to the AFSCME Women's Conference, we went out and painted houses to help the community. So that might be another way to get people out.
That's great. Great. Excellent. So I think with that, we are ready to close down. I'm going to turn this back over to Sean Dell.
Okay, Deb, just before we go, we just have one question left.
Okay.
I just want to get to this one person. And they're just basically asking a question about, is it possible to have shop steward training done on site during the work week so all stewards can attend as opposed to doing it on the weekends?
So I'll take that one on as an education person, and then I'll let the presidents jump in. It really depends on your contract. Some contracts have work release time. I know Jillian has that in Anchorage. So if you have that, take full advantage of it. Other experiences out there?
That's Chris. Yes, we, like you had said, Deborah, there is a language in our contract. But however, with all the different classifications that get out at certain times, myself being a labor union training instructor, through my experience, we have at our local district council, we have a great, educational conference, large provided room with projector and screen, and so when we have the event, we do it at approximately 5:30 in the evening, and it usually generally lasts. Stewards training is usually an 8-hour program, so we try to do it in 4-hour segments. And then we obviously have pizza, wings, and some soda and refreshments for the folks, and for all of our stewards. And so we engage them at our district council. It works best for us.
Okay, that's good. Melvin, how do you do training for your stewards? Is it on work time or off work time?
No, it's on work time. We have a time set aside that we call it HLP time. It's union time that's set aside by the members, and we do it during the week during work hours. They just have to fill out a form and they take off, and we do all our trainings during the week, and it's on the union. And we normally do 8 hours, and so the employees enjoy it because they got the weekends to their family, and the union pays for that time, so they don't lose anything, and it works out well during the week.
Jill, did you have anything to add?
Yes, we do our training during the week, during work time. We have members contribute 2 hours a year out of their leave bank balances to the union leave, and we use that time to get shop stewards released from work, and we hold our training during the week. We find that we have more participation during the week than on weekends by the shop stewards. So that's how we conduct our training.
Great. So great. We want to thank all of our presidents, all of them that are on our panel, and all of you out there. Jillian and Melvin and Chris, thank you for your willingness to share your important lessons. Good luck to all the rest of you out there in your role as local president. You are truly the key to making AFSCME and your locals stronger and more successful.
I want to thank you as well, Deb, for bringing this to us. We greatly appreciate all of your experience and knowledge to the entire group, that is. I want to also remind everyone that there is an exit survey. In order to receive your certificate of participation, please complete the exit survey. Also, for those of you who want the information that was provided, some of the items that were mentioned, the officer's handbook and the report of local officers form is available for you to download as a handout. If you just look on your tab and click on the handouts tab, and you can download those items as well as a PDF of the PowerPoint presentation that we had today. So again, I want to thank everyone for participating and especially to our panelists for joining us today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was excellent, you all.